Hello, welcome to One's the Force of Stars podcast. Mine's Phil, of course. I'm joined as usual by Dave and George. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello there.
Good evening.
How are you all doing?
Well, we've not got coronavirus.
We haven't got coronavirus, so yeah, we are one up. We're doing okay.
Although,
this is true.
Judging by Dave's window, it does look like the rendering of coronavirus all over the news. So it might be behind him.
I've left the planet in order to make sure I don't.
But thanks to our lovely, which we'll get to later, our lovely Disney Plus and VPN style, we don't have to travel outside to the US anymore, so we don't have to risk it. So we're all good, and we can give you the news as we see fit.
That's about.
But no, we've had actually a decent amount of Star Wars news. We've obviously got Clone Wars happening in the background, and we thought, they keep delaying these TV shows, brackets apparently delaying. But here we are with a decent amount of Star Wars news, many thanks to a Toy Fair, as they often do.
Yep.
And some other things which we will obviously crack down onto the next hour. But first up, we have the big announcement. So I'm going to leave to Phil to re-advertise the special.
Yeah. Indeed, the special I did at 4:30 in the morning. So we finally have had Project Luminous be unveiled. So that was unveiled last Monday, the 24th of February. I did stay up. There is a video on our channel which I did last week. So if you want to go check that out, I'm sure we'll put the link in the description below. If not, you'll be able to find it on our page. No problem. But yes, the Project Luminous turned out to be somewhat as we expected. The announced being the High Era of the Republic, the High Republic. It's set 200 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. And it's centered around a period in time where the Jedi are at the height of their power. Something happens in the galaxy, and it's what scares the Jedi. Was kind of their preamble and thoughts going into this. So it's the Jedi versus something called the Niles, which is they're calling it the kind of space Viking-esque. It looks a bit more like Mad Max than anything else to me. What they've put up, it does look kind of cool. And it's them exploring the galaxy as the Republic doesn't reach everywhere that does by the time you get to episode 1. They announced with that a series of books and comics. So you have the first book, which is Light of the Jedi, which is by Charles Soule. That's the first book coming out. That's coming out 2 days before Celebration. George, I will get you to pick me up a copy of that for sure. We have the comic from... Yes, you will. We have the main comic from Marvel. We have a comic from IDW as well, so High Republic comics for them. We also have a couple of books as well.
I'll talk to you about Celebration after we finish going on air. Yes, High Era is very interesting because we discussed this quote leak a few months back, where there's rumor these books are going to be set 400 years before. This is the big project. So we've got confirmation it was 200 years before, not 400 years before, and we also have been confirmed. Well, not confirmed. The so-called all the films are going to be in the High Era. We do not know that at this point. What the answer is to that. However, I've got a lot of respect for Lucasfilm to starting a new era in 2014. I believe they started discussing this, and then in 2018 not announcing it, but sort of getting those proper meetings to then get released in 2020. That's planning, and that's something I like, and I'm intrigued by the new era. I've got some personal issues with it. I'm intrigued to find out what happens, but I'm not fully sold. It's not being negative. That's just my sort of general consensus. My main worry is that it's 200 years before episode 1. I appreciate there is new villains and there can be some Sith, but when episode 1 is Jedi, there's been no Sith for generations and hundreds of years, and it's kind of like, okay, so we know ultimately where this series will end up, and they are at the peak. So I'm intrigued but very cautious. And if the Jedi are at the height of their power, then surely nothing should be stopping them. But that's kind of my summary summed up in a minute or two. It's a very interesting one.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on this one because I have no interest in it at all in what's been come out so far. And as a Star Wars fan, that quite concerns me. Not because I think the content's going to be bad or they're going to do a bad job. I think whatever they bring out will be excellent and set around this new era. For me, it feels like once I didn't realize as much until I kind of went through the High Era stuff, that once we kind of get outside of the area of the Skywalker saga, like those years, my interest wanes. And honestly, I don't think there'll be anything terrible in this. But for me, at this moment in time, until I get some more announcements and maybe some of the projects I've just got I've just got no interest at the moment. In fact, I'm quite worried by it, but just from a personal view, not in a, oh my God, Star Wars, what's going to happen to Star Wars? I think we carry on without my love of them certain era. But yeah, it just worries me a bit that I don't have the interest in it I would have hoped.
I've seen that around from a few other people, not just yourself. There's nothing bad about that. It's just a point of view where you've got, okay, this is not, it's not what you're used to, but it's this new place in the galaxy going, a new place in the timeline. You go, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
There's not a hook already set up. It's not a, this will lead into this. It's not with the sequel trilogy. It's finishing up where that left off. When the prequels were originally released, it was this is where how Anakin becomes Darth Vader. Those had a hook already built in, whereas this doesn't. That's actually one of the things that I like about it, though, is it's a completely blank slate. There are bits and pieces they can lead it to eventually, but it's this exploration into the galaxy. Even with the Mandalorian, it's still safe because although it's a new story, it's still in the Skywalker timeline. You still have remnants of the Empire. Again, it's still that hook, whereas this has a brand new hook for people. And when I saw people were talking about it online, when I was getting all the information up for the video, a lot of them were going, well, what is this? Or what is this? Why is it not connected to this? And go, well, the whole point is that the authors were given a blank slate by Lucasfilm to go, here you go, here's a bit of timeline, do with it as you wish, which is exciting. I find that exciting purely from that point of going, what are they going to do with it? Now, I don't think they're on it, especially with some of the authors they have on board, especially when they have E.K. Johnston and when they have... a couple as well, just escaped my mind, but no, Charles Soule is a very successful author in his own right. There's a few people that got involved in it that I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do with the content. As I said, you go to watch the video I did on our channel, it will give you a much bigger, in-depth look at it. It's only 18 minutes long, it's not too much. I try to condense the information as much as possible and give you guys a filtered look at it. However, I am very excited. Also, some of the images that come out connected to it, where you have Wookiee Jedi on the front. You actually have different lightsabers we've never seen before and colors we haven't seen before, including a white. There's white and black, which we've seen in the Darksaber, but also in Ahsoka's blades from Rebels. But it's how they got those lightsabers, how they got those crystals would be interesting. You have purple being used for the first time since Mace Windu in a visual format. It has been in one book, which was Weapon of the Jedi, which is a Luke Skywalker story, but you haven't seen it in a visual format since then. So interesting to see what they do with that. There's cool bits and pieces here and there to see what they'll do with it, and I cannot wait to see where it goes from there. But as I said, go back and watch the video. It gives you my complete breakdown of what's to come.
And I think worth mentioning is a kind of final thing on it. My thought is there's a lot riding on this. If this doesn't work, and I'm not saying it, there might be great stories. If it doesn't work, not even from a financial bit, if people aren't buying these books, buying these comics, then that is 6 years of planning that isn't. So there's a lot riding on this.
I do think, though, that's why they've kept it to the publishing side for the moment, because it's a safe bet. They haven't got to announce a film or a TV series just out of the blue, because partly it's too close to the sequel trilogy. We've just finished that. I think they need a little bit of a break film-wise. We definitely have that.
Oh yeah, I think
too. But it's a safe bet with the books and the comics as well.
I think it's riskier. I just think books are a harder demographic to sell for Star Wars. They have a big fan base and there's a lot of knowledge that's learned, especially comics as well. But I think if you're trying to introduce an entire new era, which could also be an entirely generation of Star Wars fans, whatnot, etc., all that kind of stuff, I think the best bet would have been a video game. To introduce a new era, something completely new that people will be gripped on for hours and hours, I think a video game would have been the best thing to go with first.
Yeah, I do see one coming, but I also do actually agree with you. I think a video game would have been a good jumping off point. But
then also, if it was a video game, there'd be like... Luckily, there's not as many Knights of the Old Republic. Why aren't we getting that messages? That's quieting down, but I do think something's in the pipeline there.
For sure, and I think they'll build off of this new canon coming up. Comment here, thank you for bringing that up. Even Gentlemen, did you hear about Project Maverick? A supposed leak of a new game on PlayStation. I'm of two minds. It's going to be either Battlefront 3 or that'll be the Fallen Order sequel. I don't think it's going to be something new.
I've not heard about this because this has come online an hour ago. There's a leaked photo of an X-Wing. Okay. I have just heard about it now. I'm looking at a photo of a Star Destroyer with a red background and an X-Wing. Project Maverick. If this is Top Gun, but set in Star Wars, I am down. If this is a VR Star Wars game, I will rebuy VR.
I'm thinking like Afterburner, the classic.
Pod Race. Just, you know what? Just give us a virtual reality Star Wars game. can have pod racing, you can have X-Wings, you can have all of
Yeah.
it. I mean, one of my favorite, I know we're completely off topic, but one of my favorite video games ever was the EA Battlefront one when they did that VR level.
Yep.
It was 20 minutes long, and it was 20, and I bought a VR after that because I was like, oh my god, they did a demo on that Battlefront 1. I cannot wait to see what they do with Battlefront 2. Boy, was I wrong.
True, that then morphed into the Vader Immortal series, which
Vader and Mortal,
I would love to get.
I have played. It is incredible, the experience of playing that game. So if they go down that line at all, I'd be in for that. I'd buy a headset for that.
Definitely, same here. But no,
it's one of the things that when I upgrade my laptop to a bigger PC down the line, I will be getting Vader Immortal because it's just all of the yes.
Formal announcement. If that's artwork, I'm assuming formal announcement at E3. Which is what normally June. Obviously, next generation of consoles is here at the end of the year too, so there's a lot of stuff with that. But no, thank you for saying that, Matt. That is very interesting. Moving on to the main news, I am going to. Sorry, I'll quickly bring up a comment by John Parton. Evening, guys. I must say I feel the same. I'm not blown up by the hero, but I will certainly give it a chance.
That's the best thing.
Yeah. I'm like I said, it's not sold on me now, but it easily could become sold. So. I am looking forward for that.
I mean, out of the three of us, I am the most easily suckered by books and comics. There's just no doubt about that.
I'm just very skeptical about everything. Yeah. But I'm just like that with everything, not just Star Wars.
Yeah.
Sometimes I let myself get too excited and too hyped.
Wait, shall we go from one set of books to the other book and just do a nice segue for the rant we want to have?
Not yet, because we're going to bring a really random bit of news which came out of nowhere, which is potentially the biggest bit of news, but at this point it's a running joke. So, guys, how many Star Wars films are currently in development? You've got Taika Waititi, you've got Kevin Feige, you've got a Rian Johnson trilogy, you had the Game of Thrones trilogy, which wasn't given to somebody else. And guess what? We've got another film in the pipeline. J.D. Dillard and Matt Owens, one of which wrote not Iron Fist, what's Luke Cage, on Netflix as directed the film. Apparently developing a new Star Wars film. Brackets, aren't we all? I've not seen any backgrounds.
I mean, we actually do have some breaking news. Wands of the Force has been given a Star Wars film to develop as well. You know,
yes, I've been developing one just this afternoon.
I can picture Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm headquarters. Like anyone walked in for a meeting, she's like, "You've got a film." It's not the pitch. It's just please leave my building. You've got the film.
Yeah.
And then they themselves go and leak it to like Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah. How big a check do I need to cash? Is the question on that one.
I'm at a point now where this isn't a criticism of Star Wars. This is just another Star Wars film in development. Yeah. I'm really now losing any attention to anything until we're getting official StarWars.com. We're going to talk about James Mangold in a bit. Actually, I'll jump him in now. We still haven't confirmed the Mandalorian Season 2 directors. And some rumor went out last week that Bryce Dallas Howard was directing another episode, and so was James Mangold and Robert Rodriguez. Ron Howard shared it on Twitter because it's his daughter. He just shared the article, and then James Mangold, put a very nice message like, "Hi Ron, unfortunately, I'm not. I've never had a discussion about ever directing The Mandalorian, nor have I been on set for Mandalorian. However, I really hope Bryce has done another episode, and wish you well." One way to destroy a rumor within an hour is have James Mangold tweet it. Again, they announced them directors. I was like, I'd assume Bryce would come back. I couldn't care about the others.
Well, to be fair though, I said in the chat though, I could totally see Robert Rodriguez doing a proper Western horror style.
I could.
Fantastic.
I think the Mangold thing's interesting because I know we're a Star Wars podcast at Indiana Jones, but obviously last week Spielberg formally.
It would have been interesting to see him do one. I do completely agree.
Obviously, Spielberg's dropped out of directing Indiana Jones, and apparently it's Mr. Mangold, so it makes sense if he's got Lucasfilm connections as such. But we're all off the Star Wars directing bandwagon.
You've got to take every announcement now with a pinch of salt that comes out until, like George said, until you get like an official Star Wars. And sometimes, to be honest, even when you get announced on StarWars.com, you might not make it to the movie. But
this is true.
That is certainly where we'll be looking for these.
However, do pay attention on slow news weeks because at that point we are just scraping the bottom of the barrel. We'll find that.
I think we'll take this off now, but this could have been a half-hour piece in 2 weeks' time.
Oh yes. But luckily it's not. Okay, shall we then go on to the rank, guys? Shall we go on to the books? So, I like my books. I don't really read the novelizations or the comic novel adaptations for a reason. I don't see a need to. I've seen the film. I own the film. There's nothing even if they add something into it, it's not really necessary. This is a little different. So the Rise of Skywalker book went on early sale at C2E2. Now, do I have to say these words? I'm going to say it, but yeah, Palpatine is a clone that's been confirmed, and I don't want to say those words ever.
I will backtrack this with something I didn't add to the schedule. Ian McDermott did a convention last weekend, and he did a talk. In said talk, he literally said he did a scene with Adam Driver, where Adam Driver said, "You're just a clone," and he said something in the Emperor voice like,
"More than a clone, less than a man."
Yeah, just, thank God they cut that scene out. Yeah, it's confirmed rumors. I think people would have been writing a bit harder had that been in the final cut. Not that clip, but the idea of him as a clone, because it's too cheap, too easy.
It's also the old EU that was terrible, and he literally had an army where he would transfer himself into body, into body, into body.
I like it.
I mean, I've made
you're twisted and evil.
My opinions on 9 are clear. I said to you guys, this is my underlying issue is I didn't like Palpatine. And unfortunately that disrupted the film. Love the other stuff, but when it's such an integral piece, it's hard to accept. I'm in that, I've gone past denial, I'm now in the acceptance part. And I said to you guys, I just need to know why he's back, how did he survive? And then I read Palpatine's Clone, I was there like, give me that Fortnite broadcast any day of the week over that.
To be fair, I think it would have been better if it came out that the one in episode 6 was a clone and this was a real one hiding all along. I think that would have been a better one.
It would have been better, but it's kind of like, would you rather get shot in the arm or in the leg?
I would rather get shot in the leg, but that's if you give me those two options, I'd rather take the one where he was a clone in episode 6. At least then it's after all this time, they thought they got the real me, but they didn't. Here I am. Now you can destroy me, kind of thing. That would have been a better way of ending it rather than going, no, I'm a clone.
It's a difficult one. I'm the same as you. I've got the novelizations of 7 and 8. I have fond memories of reading Revenge of the Sith as a kid, which is apparently the best one. And I think people see these as they are kind of canon. They are kind of like extended. Not extended, but it's kind of like deleted scenes are put in these, right?
Yes, pretty much.
So you can take it by gospel. It's not seen in the film, but it is in theory a thing.
Which is what makes it all the more interesting when the deleted scenes aren't on the Blu-ray.
But I'm also guessing it means Lucasfilm can also be like, it wasn't in the film, it's not canon. So I think it suits whoever needs it suited.
Exactly that.
And we've got a comment from John in discussion to your Palpatine in episode 6. That's the worst thing I've heard this week. The original trilogy was perfection. I do agree. I would not have liked to have found out that the Emperor wasn't there all
I agree.
along.
I'm just trying to make 9 a better ending. That's all I'm trying to do there.
I mean, speaking of better endings, we've talked about the Raiders. I'm not going to hate on them. I like the idea of the concept. I don't agree with how they've all acted online for almost 4 months now. In said book, even worse for them, Rey didn't mean her kiss.
Which is the bit I love. I'm totally down with that because I hated that kiss.
It wasn't meant as a kiss of romance. It was meant as a kiss of
gratitude.
Gratitude. Yeah. I really hate that as well. I didn't mind the kiss. It's weird how over the years, when people will put the idea, I mean, Rey wasn't a word in 2015. When people are like Kylo and Rey have a thing, and at Force Awakens, I was like, nah, you're all crazy. Episode 8 comes along, and they're like, oh, there's something there, but I'm not really seeing it. Rewind to between 8 and 9, and they're like, they're a thing. and then obviously now we have the dyad in the Force, and now she didn't really mean to, kiss him on the lips of gratitude because he just sacrificed himself for her. She didn't mean it romantically. Don't know what else she meant it for.
I get. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of venom again come out in the fandom because of this, and not just aimed at like, oh, Lucasfilm, you didn't do this. They've gone right after the author, which is again, deplorable the way the fandom of Star Wars does this. Ray Carson, the lady who wrote the novelization, in hand with Lucasfilm and Story Group. So she's fed their ideas out there, and for her to be taken apart on the internet after a couple of hours, people were posting up pages and paragraphs and arguing, and her name was all over the internet. And it's just, this side of fandom is just the worst.
She's been villainized for something that wasn't her fault. And
also, when people saw this book, what makes it even more bizarre, not only do they abuse the author, she gets criticism for them not changing the entire ending of a film.
That she couldn't change anything on,
because she's wrote the adaptation of a film.
This is a film. It's like, how can you criticize someone for writing an adaptation when they literally have taken the script, put in some extra words, and it's done? It's not.
It would be like The Great Escape. Like, oh, you know what? They've told me this film called Rise of Skywalker, but I'm going to change the final 5 pages, and it's going to see the light of day. It's not how it works. It's another sad, pathetic attempt. The quicker these fans, I mean, I know that Star Wars had abusive fans for many a year. I'm not going to sit here and be smug. I've never gone on my way to harass an author or anything. I've said my words on football pitches, but I've certainly not gone up to someone that's trained in their industry and been like, you are this, you are that, and that's me doing it politely. And the fact that most of these are like 50-year-old blokes or teenage girls, that's what's such a struggle, because I get it, it's the sort of Star Wars isn't that sort of young adult franchise, but I can understand why they're sort of in that shipping Kylo and Rey thing. If you look at the sort of eras, Twilight, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Divergent, this has been one of the sort of recent ones, in all honesty, as a sort of young romance. And yeah, it's just, I did not anticipate my biggest fear of episode 9 was the reaction of, not people that just like that show, but it was just the reaction everyone seemed to have, just the venom online, the prequel stuff.
Yeah.
Instead, we've just had childish anger, which is, I don't know if it's worse. I mean,
to me,
they're
it's
all as bad, but
yeah.
It's, I mean, luckily the film's out. Luckily they're not doing sequels and stuff at this point in time. Maybe in 20 years' time they'll have their own kids, and maybe they'll be angry instead, or they'll have named all their kids Kylo and Rey. A bit incestuous. But I'm so excited now just to move on from the Skywalker saga, because I still want my Mandalorian and all this, but I'm just excited to get to a point where, how beautiful were those 7 weeks when the Mandalorian aired, where the entire Star Wars fan base were in union with each other.
Yeah.
That has not been like that since 1977.
No, if it's important for me to say, I still love episode 9. I mean, I still, out of the 3 of us, was the one who walked out of the cinema the happiest, for damn sure. And then we had other watching since, we've all discussed it, and it's well documented. In fact, it's one of the things I love about doing the show is debating with the guys our opinions. There's no animosity here. It's just, even when it comes to the Mortis trilogy, we are still polite to a degree. Between our
absolutely not polite. They're totally lying. It makes me cry most days.
And you are well deserved to. But that's not the point. Point is, it happened. I'm okay with what happened in the film. I still love the film. The book is the book. It's okay. Move on. Deal with it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's no need to villainize an author. I've had disagreements with how things have been done in books, and I've spoken to authors, but in a question of just as a question, why did you make this choice? Taking their reasoning and gone, fair enough. This is my point of view. Okay, done. That's it. Just to leave it as just a discussion as to what their thought was behind it. And this was more here's a deleted scene that maybe could have been in the film, maybe not. Sometimes 2 words too many, sometimes 2 words too few. But I think that's about all we need to say on that, though. But going back to those 7 glorious weeks of The Mandalorian, sorry, George, you better make an opinion.
One more thing.
Go on.
The day episode 9 came out, J.J. Abrams did a talk. And what he said was, I'm fully aware every single choice I make in this film, not even big choice, any choice I do will be loved or loathed. There is no middle ground. He knew it, and he accepted that, and that's a part of it. And
it's what I said when after the film came out, we did our show. I did say he had the hardest task of anyone by bringing all these films together.
Exactly, and we did such. I mean, I've met him before. I've met him twice. Lovely guy. If you turn around and say, I'm never going to be like, I hate episode 7. You ruined my life. I'm not one of them. I'd be like, hey, let's talk about Star Wars, man. Like, because he's a cool guy. He's a fan.
Yeah.
It's ironic that the fans haven't accepted that fans now make these films. But in their heads, they made their own films 30 years ago that still exist in their heads and nowhere else.
Headcanon isn't actual canon.
Yes, and neither is entitlement. But that's the last I'm going to say on it.
Yeah, but moving on back to those 7 glorious weeks, just saying that I did put in our chat a long time ago. Apparently, guys didn't pick up on it. We have had announced the Mandalorian art and imagery book. It's on sale May the 5th. Originally I think it was earlier than that. I think it's been pushed back, which is maybe why it's been forgotten. But annoyingly, I didn't find an image for that one. But guys, opinions on that one? That how quickly will you buy your copy? Because I know I'll be getting mine as soon as I can.
I'd like to see a few pages first, but I know that the episode 9 art book comes out on March 31st, which is important to get. I'm intrigued by this Mandalorian book because, not to get on my high horse. I'm plain and simple. I like my DK Visual Dictionary first. I want to study it in anticipation for the UK launch of Disney Plus, which we'll get to, because we can all watch it weekly. Not that you can watch it all elsewhere online legally, but I know I'm excited. There's so much. There's concept out of this. I don't know.
We should have called this episode. Is that illegal? I will make it legal. Is what you should. We should have called this episode. I will make it legal. Damn it! That's what we should have called it.
I'm intrigued to see and read more. I love concept art, and when it's a new show like The Mandalorian, you're entering not a new era, but a new design, a new sort of not meaning of Star Wars, but not Jedi, not Sith, not elaborate over the top planets. Just let's go for some more sort of not cultured, but it's a different environment, not just the filming, but the concept and the entire thing. So I'm intrigued to see, what I mean. We always say the episodes have a concept art, but it's got Rey swimming in the remains of the Death Star. That became part of the film 4 years later. So I'm intrigued to see what they put in Mandalorian, because I'm guessing they'll also be a bit sort of safeguard with it to make sure that it's not spoiling season 2, which we know is already filming now and is almost wrapped. So I think they'll be a bit careful knowing that there's already a lot of content coming, but I'm very intrigued.
Indeed, Dave.
Yeah, for myself, they're the books that I'm now more invested in. Like, they're the ones I'm going to have. I have on display sort of like the art of and the making of books. They're the big hardback books, and they're hardback books, and they're the ones I'm more interested in. So this Mandalorian one is definitely what I'll be adding to my collection. Can't wait to get a hold of it.
The reason why I want it is those beautiful end cards we have at the end of the episodes. Those bits of artwork will be in that book, and that's the reason why personally I want it, because those are just stunning. I do have the Art of the Last Jedi. I don't have any other the Art of books, but I do want some more. I do have a Ralph McQuarrie print up on my wall that I do treasure. And it's one of those things, the art of Star Wars has always been fascinating. Ever since Ralph McQuarrie did those original images, we all know Anthony Daniels' particular love of the artwork, but that's a different story entirely. But yes, I will be getting the Art of the Mandalorian for sure. George, do you want to, let's talk about Disney Plus, do you want to take us through this next bit of news? Go on, George.
There was whispers last week that there was going to be a humongous Disney Plus event launch in Europe. And the next day, I was very fortunate to obtain a ticket via a fan group I'm a part of, and it was confirmed by Disney. I had the day off work. It was due to take place tomorrow, Thursday the 5th of March. And it was obviously going to preview the European launch. They were, I'm guessing, going to announce the content, have some big reveals, special guests they said they would be there. And I'm guessing as well, show clips from probably The Mandalorian, stuff that we can all see anyway, but they have to obviously show, preview it for Europe as well as announcing new stuff. Obviously, we know that Disney now owns a good chunk of Pinewood, so I could imagine they'd have announced some interesting projects. Brackets Indiana Jones 5 is meant to start filming in the summer, which I'm pretty sure is going to be delayed now. And very excited all week. Monday night, get an amazing text off one of the people I'm going with, buzzing over the moon. You guys know my reaction to that. And then on Tuesday lunchtime, the Deadline Hollywood tweeted, Disney have cancelled the event due to fears of coronavirus. We're not a health podcast. I'm just going to remind you all to wash your hands. But coronavirus has Disney... I can understand why they cancelled it, even though it was only a couple of hundred people. They were bringing in journalists and media across Europe, which has had a lot of people affected. I mean, it's going worldwide now, but they don't want to mix and match. They didn't want to obviously jeopardize their big names who are already there. Kathleen Kennedy's already in London. She was at a fashion show on Monday. I'm sure she would have been there. And other people, maybe Mandalorian, maybe Cassian, maybe even Obi-Wan Kenobi. But we'll now never know. And instead, this launch is going to be converted into press releases, which are going to now be put online over the coming weeks. Obviously, we don't do many Star Wars, but if anyone follows UK Disney Plus, they've announced this week that they've made a humongous deal with Sky to get it on Sky TVs. They've announced Simpsons is going to finally be confirmed on the UK ones. So they're doing little bits of news each day. Today, they've announced that Clone Wars starts streaming March 24th. Not a is released, it's a start streaming. So I'm guessing that's weekly and 6 weeks behind. So you're not even going to be able to watch it in England. And yeah, so it's cancelled. It's very sad. They've also cancelled the release of James Bond. So obviously this virus is going to have a big effect on the film industry. I think it's going to start affecting filming projects too. Might be a bit of a blessing in disguise that Kenobi is delayed to the new year. I messaged you guys earlier. But instead of getting upset about coronavirus, we're going to do what we did at Clone Wars and advertise Disney Plus for you all. Free of charge, by the way. They're not paying us for this. They've announced
we can only dream.
It's an introductory offer to Disney Plus for UK pre-orders. You basically go on the website, you pay $49.99 for a 1-year annual fee, and you pay it all in one sum. Normally it'd be £60 for a year or £6 monthly, so you're either saving yourself £12 or £22. And on March 24th, the intention is to then download it onto your console, TV, whatever website, and go and watch it, which me and Dave have both done. Now, legally, you can access all of this right now, this very moment. I could have it on my laptop, but it's on my bed and it's turned off. If you have a VPN, I'm using NordVPN, whichever one.
NordVPN,
yeah.
They could sponsor us. They don't, but they could.
They could. I'll tweet them.
Yeah, go for it.
Please sponsor us. No.
If you want to sponsor Once and Force the Star Wars podcast, please just get in touch. We'll happily take anything.
Once you've paid for your pre-order, so you have to pay for the pre-order to have your account. You create your username, you create your email and password, activate the VPN, set it to America or whichever region legally has all content. Netherlands if you're desperate, but go with America. It's the obvious safe bet. And sign into your account, and Disney Plus is there. The entire library, everything that has been released 4 months ago, is on there right now as we speak. I've had a very good weekend catching up with some Disney films I've missed over the years, some old TV shows I watched as a kid, some old films. So it's a kind of way, if you guys really want to leapfrog the system, then do that. It is legal, as I've said. It's fine to do it. You've paid your membership fees. You've got your account. You're streaming it. Obviously, you can't get the apps on the telly and stuff. It does work on your phone. Not phone, but on your desktops. But that's there if you want to do it. It's worth doing it. And also, we then worked out that your renewal date is March 24th, 2021. And because you're already watching it now, you basically bagged yourself a free month well.
Yeah.
So 13 months for £50. It's a bargain. If you really wanted to watch it, you can. And obviously this leads us on to talk about Clone Wars, where if Clone Wars is being released weekly, behind schedule in England, it does mean that I'm just going to keep my VPN for another month. But hey, we're just advertising VPNs for you. It's fine.
To be fair, virtual private networks are a good idea anyway. It does actually help you protect yourself from hacking and stuff. But it's not exactly the world's worst idea in any way. But yes, if you want to go and watch any of the Disney content, which now does include all the Fox content and anything else, because Disney are now massive, there you go. It is now legal, and everyone can go and enjoy themselves. Next piece of news, though, we'll move swiftly on from Disney Plus. We've already gone over James Mangold, and last bit of news is the Disney one. Damn it, George, you've jumped over a couple of things. You really shook me out of my place there. The next was actually kind of a big bit of news. Going back to Disney, Bob Iger stepped down as the Disney CEO. He's staying in a creative role until 2021, and that's to help with the transition. I can't remember the names, Bob. I can't remember the guy's surname who's now taking over as Bob to Bob. But it's a good transition period. He did come out saying, with the acquisition of Fox, with everything else, I think it's a good time for the creative reins to be handed over, but it'll be done in a lengthy period to make sure there's a smooth transition. George, you were the one that has been more on this than the rest of us. Do you want to kind of take us through that?
Yeah, of course. So there was rumours actually Bob Iger was stepping down. Obviously, he's been the CEO of Disney since 2005. He's responsible for buying Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, 20th Century Fox. Not bad to put on your CV.
Yes.
I don't think he'll ever need to apply for another job again.
No, definitely not. And the creation and successful launch of Disney Plus. So I think it's been coming for a while. I think Disney kind of politely have asked him, would you help us sort of steady the ship for 2021? Obviously, they've got a big year with, the streaming service getting set up, reaching its potential. And last week, out of nowhere, they announced he stepped down. We knew he was stepping down at the end of his contract. He kind of said he would go at the end of his contract, but they've obviously found their replacement early. He's just kind of took a below role, so he's now like head of creative until his contract expires in 2021. But he's also there to assist the new CEO, give him guidance, point to a website and be like, which franchises your finger landed on today? Doctor Who or By the Rights? So lots of fun like that. They get to play Monopoly. But no, it's very intriguing because
I think they won Monopoly years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say
now just hotels across the board. You are just screwed.
It's just like, oh, what's next? Pixar, well, then Marvel, then Star Wars. I know we'll just buy 20th Century Fox. Like, don't know what's next. Something's going to be next.
Wait for it. Warner Brothers will be next.
I think it's going to be next. Although I could imagine them all teaming up together to take out the online streaming services, even though Disney now have the best
don't they own Hulu now, technically?
They've had Hulu for years, ABC, ESPN, the list is endless. But I'm very intrigued. I really like Bob Iger. I'm fascinated to read his book. I think he's a very successful businessman, but I feel that he's quite genuine too. I can imagine him being ruthless, but I have a vibe that, yes, he's a businessman, not necessarily a fan, but he just has the right kind of attitude that I can understand why George Lucas would have sold to him. I can imagine he's good in that sense. I can't imagine George Lucas have been selling to the normal guy in the three-piece suit, but enter Bob Iger with his sort of open button Vince McMahon shirts. It's a very interesting one. I'm intrigued. Really, there's not much further you can take Disney.
No,
they've reached this end point, and I think Bob Iger's got out a very good time. I'm not saying they're going to get worse or anything's going to die down, but he's probably put them in as high a position as they've been since Walt Disney under his leadership. And to be fair, Disney's 7 CEOs in almost 100 years. That's remarkable. Some companies switch every 3-4 years, but they obviously like their long-term plans. He's been there 16 years. Eisner was there for 20 years before him. Yeah. It's a company that looks for long-term investment. So I'm intrigued. If this changed anything to Star Wars, we won't know. We won't know for a long time. Yeah. There's probably other priorities like getting all their films released right now. But it could potentially be a very interesting period now for Disney, and to see what they do with Star Wars. Bob Iger was the one George Lucas sold it to. Obviously, he's not going to tell me give me a refund, but obviously, without speculating, will Kathleen Kennedy get on with the new guy as much as Bob Iger? She's very professional, I'm sure she could, but there's a lot of interesting developments that can happen, not just across Star Wars.
Well, her contract's up for renewal in 2021 as well, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think, politely put, I think she's going to... This is pure speculation again. I have a vibe that she misses working on normal films, and I think if she's in a place where she wants to hand over, I'm sure she has earned that and to hire the right people. But it'd be very interesting to see what happens now on the business side of Disney. But yeah, we are on a Disney podcast though, so I feel like I'm weighing over my head.
It's true. So let's just bring things back down to Earth. Well, back down to a galaxy far, far away. Guys, I think is that it for the news. I don't think we've got anything else on the schedule there. No, all good. So move on to Star Wars. Now, I'm going to start off Star Wars by just again plugging my High Era video we've done on the High Republic Era video I did on the channel for the public Project Luminous announcement from last week, from the 24th, because that does break down everything nice and concisely there. I talk about all the books, all the comics, including the new additional partners, which include Titan Comics and other places like that. So really go check that video out, because I don't remember everything. It will give you a much better description there. Something else that's not on the schedule, but it is the fact that the Rise of Kylo Ren issue #1 has gone back for its 3rd printing. And it's rumored to go for a 4th printing as well at this particular rate. It'll be one of the highest selling comics since the very first issue of Star Wars in 2015. It's just insane how that's flown off the shelves, and you never know. I may end up doing a Star Wars special on that. You never know, coming soon. The next bit of news for Star Wars is the Rise of Skywalker 5-issue comic adaptation is been announced as well. So they've done this with every film since Episode 7. So you did one for The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, the one for Rise of Skywalker, they've done one for Rogue One and Solo as well. So this just adds to it, but again, it's adding those themes that we didn't see in the film. That's also being included in the novelization. So we're interested to see what people's reactions are to that and what new images we get out of that comic. But again, that'll be coming. I think it's coming in May. So again, George.
One thing I really forgot to mention, going back to the book from earlier, one really good thing which they cut, I actually was really annoyed they cut. When Kylo Ren becomes Force Ghost, he says something to Rey, and I've forgotten it word for word, so I don't want a pack of Raiders coming for me, so I'm not going to say it. But Rey's response is exactly what Luke says to Carrie in 8, which is no one's never really gone. That's moments after he dies. I would have loved that. Two bits of dialogue. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry, I should have said that earlier. That I'd literally just wiped my mind when you mentioned the comics there.
Yeah, that's fine. However, yes, I think it's coming in May. I know that's again coming sooner than the graphic novel will be out later in the year as well. But that is it for Star Wars. It's a very quiet week this particular week. All of it has been taken up by the High Republic, which we covered earlier in the show. Next up, though, we're going to move on to Toy Shelf and the New York Toy Fair, and we've had plenty of news. Our chat's been full of it. George, do you want to take us through whilst I take us through the images?
Yeah, of course.
Or Dave. Actually, Dave's been very quiet. Let's get Dave through this one.
You can, but I probably need some help. But yeah, I mean, we'll start it with probably the biggest thing that came out of it. And literally when I mean biggest, I mean as in size. We are getting the Black Series scale Snowspeeder with DAC. Now, this
for some reason I didn't upload the image.
That's okay. But the actual thing, so we've had a line of these come out before. So we've had Rey on her speeder. We've had what other vehicles? We've had obviously the huge TIE fighter that came out, the first order TIE fighter, and now we are getting a scale 6-inch Snowspeeder. The image, which unfortunately we don't have, but it will be available if you have a look anyway, you will find it. It's another beautiful piece that they're releasing. It's obviously really precise to the actual film. It's just they're putting these things out, and obviously they can only go so big in these scale vehicles. So you're up to sort of your Snowspeeder. You could probably I don't even think you do an X-Wing because of the span of the wings would be so big. So you never know if they're going to be bigger than this. But I think this is going to be a really big seller, especially for those Black Series collectors. It's one of the pieces, if I was still into the Black Series, would be probably one of the only ones I would want to jump out and get.
Always one that I want, but I cannot find the space for it anywhere, which sucks.
It's an interesting one because the first sort of big figure they did was the TIE Fighter, which I think was just too big. And you saw them reduced for many years after. And I thought it looked great, but it was one of them where they kind of then sort of tailored these vehicles. And I think Snowspeeder is a very, very smart choice because it's the anniversary of Episode 5. Everyone loves Episode 5. It's a Snowspeeder. And you've got Dak and not another Luke in a pilot costume. So
yeah, which was the risk, I think. I
just think, it's a bit different. And you know what, go for it. I mean, we did our video when we spoke about our favorite Black Series figures. My favorite one of them is still the Scout Trooper on the speeder bike, and
yeah,
I'm intrigued to see what else they have planned for Black Series because it's the same as you. I don't really collect them anymore. I've got my Celebration exclusives.
Here we go.
Celebrations, but there is a picture on the screen for those watching, and it looks a lot cleaner than I thought it did. But I'm not going to moan about how clean it is. It looks phenomenal. It's a shame when people are going to leave this in the box because I bet it looks stunning out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things if I have the space. Sorry, go, Dave.
Just saying, it's one of those things that I think if you bought, you would not want that left in that black box. The artwork's lovely, but that needs to be displayed.
Oh, if I had the space, I would have Luke with his X-Wing pilot outfit on with it, and I would have it on the wall somewhere. It would look lovely, especially with Dak in there. The fact they put Dak in there just makes it cooler, because he could take on the entire Empire by himself.
What I now want is the version where you get dead Dak inside already, with a 6-inch scale at that foot. Just about to land on it.
Didn't they do an at foot with the Luke?
With Luke, yeah, it was from the.
Yes, of course.
It was the centerpiece figure that it has actually been done. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh, that's sad.
I always did wonder though, what if he'd never have died when the electricity went off? What if he was just knocked out cold? And he just woke up for a few brief moments, looked up, and there's just a giant foot.
There's
Like,
proper
see
Monty
Luke
Python
jumping
style
away,
of death.
Luke, where you
Poor
go?
guy.
Oh, okay.
It's just Monty Python style of death. Just suddenly a big foot comes out the sky and squishes you. Done. That's it. You are game over. Oh dear. But next week we had was the Empire Strikes Back retro figures announced, which includes a board game as well. So I'll put the board game in just a second. So these are the retro figures we've had announced. So you've got Lando, Han, Luke, another Luke, Leia, Yoda, and Boba. I'm still not a fan of the retro figures. I've got the first board game, which is sat there, which I will be getting this next one. And I have the retro Vader because the one they did for the conventions, because it's rainbow and it's cool. The rest of them I'm not too fast by.
Again, I've got mostly the originals of those figures, so that's the one thing. I don't want to collect the retro ones because I have the actual figures themselves. So yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of these just because of them being in the market. And yeah.
There's a great meme, and I'm not going to obviously because it's swear I'm not going to say, but it was there like, hey, guess what? You bought this 40 years ago. You can buy the exact same thing again.
Yep, we're selling the exact same.
It is a great meme.
It is perfect.
Newspaper cut. It was quality, but yeah, the retro figures really lost. I mean, bringing back the vintage collection, that's a kind of you can get the nostalgia, but re-releasing
the vintage collection is different because it's the old style packaging with brand new art, and the figures are digitally painted and they look incredible. The retro figures are just that. They are the difference with the original board game, which I have here, that came with a Tarkin figure that was never available.
Never released,
in the original run. They said this was a concept figure that was never released, so we're going to release it and as a tie-in with this game. The game's actually really fun. If you guys haven't played it, I do recommend it. It's a great way to spend an evening.
It's just weird. Like I can't imagine in 10 years' time them re-releasing like all the figures I bought as a kid, like the Phantom Menace or the Episode 2 or the 3s. Like it's such a weird idea that let's restock.
You say that, but they released the 6-inch Black Series
That's
Celebration Star Wars. I'm just saying though, you said you can't see them doing it, but they already have.
I think they will. Give it Star Wars Celebration 2022. I'm sure there'll be a delightful, disgusting blue box somewhere that'll have that awful Anakin figure with a stuck-out hand in that awful Naboo costume. There should be a brilliant Christopher Lee and Yoda one instead, but there won't be. But no, retro collection really struggle with it.
To be fair though, I'm going to bring up the game now. So this is the new game, the Hoth Ice Planet adventure game. This is the game itself. So it's similar vein to the Escape from the Death Star one they had before. So it is a different game. This very much looks like Story, I think it is, which is again where you have your pieces go around and you knock each other back and send it back to the start and things. It's kind of a similar vein. Does look kind of fun. And again, this was the Escape from the Death Star game was actually very fun. It's for 20 quid. You get what you get. It's a good little game. So I probably will end up getting this to go with my Escape from the Death Star one. But yeah, it's all right. The next bit though, I want to talk about those the vintage collection, and we do have something very exciting for that in the form of Slave One, and it is so pretty. And again, if I had the space for that, I would totally get it, but I just don't.
I don't like this. Sorry.
And I do.
My beef with the vintage collection is that this was a toy in the 80s. How much nicer would the Jango Fett Slave One look like in vintage collection?
Yeah.
I will concede my point to that one being much better, yes.
no, don't get me wrong. It's a great figure. The vintage collection, I've kind of said this so many times, when it relaunched, it was to me going to be the most interesting collector thing I'd attempted to do. I lasted approximately 3 waves before they just started re-releasing the old vintage waves, and that lost me. And then there's too much happening too quickly. I thought, you know what?
Yeah, I just buy select pieces that I like.
I've got one left. It's the Rogue One assault tank, which is without doubt one of my favorite ever Star Wars purchases. It sits on a shelf with the limited edition Buzz Lightyear, exactly as the packaging should be, called the Signature Collection. But I will never get that.
The vintage is the one series, apart from my Ralph McQuarrie Signature series, it's the one series I don't unbox, because the reason why I got it is because I love the complete package. I love the artwork on it, and I love the figures as well, the digital painting. For example, as well, I've got the triple pack, the action figures, set for the Dr. Aphra BT1000 set, and I've got Dr. Aphra as well. Again, they're all in package and they look stunning. I unboxed. So go on, yeah.
I'd like to revisit it at one point and see. I think now we've kind of settled on the Skywalker trilogy. Not Skywalker trilogy, sorry, the sequel trilogy.
Saga, yeah.
I'm intrigued to see. Would I want to go back and sort of pick up 7 or 8 figures and have here's a mini collection. You've not outdone yourself. You've not got too much, but here's a couple of figures. I'm intrigued by it. I want to do that.
The Poe Dameron is lovely. I do have that. It is.
Poe is the new X-Wing style. But if they'd have done the episode 7 Poe X-Wing, oh my, that is.
That would be gorgeous. But I don't have the X-Wing. I do have the Poe figure from episode 9. It is lovely. The artwork's nice as well. We do also have some figures to go along with that. So you have Bespin Luke, you have Han, and you have 3PO. Again, these are all from the Empire Strikes Back era, of course, celebrating the 40th anniversary coming up. So naturally, they're going to bring those out. I am more excited for Slave 1 than I am the figures. But in terms of that, though, we also have the Gonk, droid as well. It's been done. You have the Jedi Knight Luke, and you have another one as well. It's a Slave 1. So yeah, those are the 3 brand new figures. The other ones are just repackaged. Again, more excited for those, but for some reason, those images didn't want to save in a format that allowed me to show it, and I didn't have time to bring them up. I'm then going to move on to something else, which was the next bit on the list. So, the Mission Fleet. Do I have to talk about this? Because they're ugly as hell. I'm going to read out one example, because I've already put one in the chat, and it is,
the kids going to enjoy this?
The kids are going to, yeah. I mean, Dave, your kid's old enough for this. What do you think?
He is, and to be honest, it is probably the kind of thing he would really like. He's really into his Lego. He loves Boba Fett. He loves Mandalorians. He likes taking things apart and building extra bits on them. So you know what? If that's a 4 or 5-year-old boy getting his first taste of Star Wars with that, totally see it. But yeah, for obviously, look, guys of our age are not going to be interested in it. It's a throwaway toy. But yeah, you know what? For a younger child, absolutely go for it. I think it's a great addition for children. This
is very much, you can't play with Daddy's collection, but you can have this. That's very much what this figure is.
It's very much that, yeah. The ones behind glass are not for you, son.
No, this is for you. You can play with this to your heart's content. And no one will care in 30 years' time if it's not its original box. But something else that has come up, which I have drawn over that I really want, is unfortunately, again, the other image didn't say was this. It's the Darth Revan Force Effects Black Series lightsaber. Now, the cool thing about this is the fact that it goes from purple to red. So they actually have different LEDs inside, so you can change it from one to the other, and it does look beautiful.
It's a nicely designed saber. I really like the actual hilt design on it. Yeah. I don't know with the Black Series now if you can actually remove the blade on them all.
This is the first. This is the first one.
Can you
series. Yes.
Okay, interesting, because I know that the big plus with the Disneyland lightsabers is that you can buy them without the blade, and it saves you $40. Yeah. And I saw someone on my Twitter who had a fantastic collection, bought 11 at Disneyland, which is definitely far too many. They all came in a stand, and he had 11 of them at home, all mounted.
Nice.
It's a brilliant bookcase. And I was like, that is what I want, but that is not what I'm going to be ever able to afford.
It's the only reason I didn't buy the Obi-Wan Episode 1 Black Series lightsaber, because I'd rather display it as just the lightsaber itself. So again, that's going to be a purchase from hopefully Disney one day, or not. I'll have to put the money up and get it off eBay. But yeah, it's if you can remove the blade, then I'm all for. I'm much more personal with the actual hilts.
Just going to put the image in the thing now. So if you guys want to continue talking, wants to bring that up, I'll show you what I mean. But it is 100%.
But I think for a lot of people who've obviously been fans of Darth Revan from back in the day, from when he was first announced, and people have been kind of wanting more of this old EU. I guess he's not just EU now as well. He was brought in back to the Clone Wars as well. He was kind of mentioning that as well. So it is a blade that people have wanted for a long time. So I think they are now fulfilling a lot of fans' dreams, but the things they've really wanted. They are listening to the fan groups and bringing out things that probably would not have been something that would have been thought of before. Now they're finished the Skywalker saga, I think, again, it opens up a lot more. They can go and visit to any era when they want to release toys and things like that.
Indeed. Again, sorry, for some reason, it's not wanting to transfer across. It's really
That's okay. Well,
that's fine.
this may work.
But we are still staying with lightsabers.
We have
move on to
the first ever official bit of Darksaber merchandise.
Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. Here we go. Check this out. When this is just loaded, and for those of you who are on the audio, boom. Oh,
it is a very pretty lightsaber.
So the crystals are like what they are at Disneyland too. You kind of buy the card put inside. Yeah. So it's basically the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, which I mean, hopefully that means they're going to start releasing them like that.
That would be nice if they actually took that lead and thought, you know what, if this sells really, you know what, this could be sort of a prototype for that as well. They might be looking like, let's see how it does. Let's put it out.
Yeah, I mean, also the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, depending on what crystal you have on there, the LEDs change to that color anyway. This is the first bangs for your buck mass-produced lightsaber, I think, out there, because the ones you can get at Galaxy's Edge the legacy sabers aren't sold widely. They're only available there. Again, the Savvy's Workshop ones, again, are only available there. Everywhere else, you cannot remove the blade or crystal, or even if there is a crystal inside, which there isn't on the vast majority. This is the first one of the mass-produced consumer sabers that does, from official ones, that does have the removable blade and crystal, and it changes color. It goes from the black to the red, so from the red to the purple. But he's had a lot of love recently. You've had the Black Series Darth Revan figure and the Black Series Jedi Knight Revan figure taken from the Galaxy of Heroes game, so it's really cool to see him getting a lot of love there. But yes, sorry, go on to the Darksaber, which again does look really cool, and I think I have an image for some reason again didn't want to put in, but go on.
Yeah, so it's a Hasbro one, obviously the sort of the kids ones, the sort of £20-30 one. But I saw this like, wow, like going with Darksaber merch, very intrigued now, because obviously Mandalorian's coming back. It's going to get bigger over the next year. I am convinced we're now going to get this Black Series. We're going to get this Galaxy's Edge. It's a very cult blade. And that sounds so weird to say. It's going to be very hard to do, and it works perfectly in that photo. It's like a 20 quid thing. But if you're going to do a £150 one, is it going to need to be like a fully LED blade? I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm very intrigued because there is such a niche. And someone on my Facebook met Giancarlo Esposito at Comic-Con last month, and this guy's got one of them, like he's either homemade or 3D printed or done off Etsy, one of those kind of things. And that's the first ever Darksaber Giancarlo signed, and he wrote his autograph, and then he put the first ever Darksaber I've signed. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. That is really cool.
Definitely potential for them to mass release these, especially with Clone Wars 2.
Indeed. I mean, I did have to explain. I was talking to a friend of mine who's watched the series. I did have to explain the kind of the importance of that lightsaber. We're going to continue on though, and we're going to finally move on to the last bit of Toy Shelf news. Very much aware of the time as well. For the Lego Dio and Lego Razor Crest figs we've had announced as well, with the most adorable Baby Yoda you've ever seen in Lego form.
I will be getting the Razor Crest. It's a ship I want. I don't know how big it's quite going to be. It doesn't look like it's going to be massive in scale. I don't know if it's quite right to scale. If they've done like a minute when they bring the versions down, if obviously not UCS or like that. But again, it's something I'm going to have because I want that Mandalorian, I want that Yoda, I want that all those figures.
I would love a Lego Baby Yoda that scale though. That's the image on the right there, not the one next to the Mando, but the big one. I would like a Lego Baby Yoda of that size.
I love Mando. I like the fact that this was the really obvious merch. Like, why didn't they do his ship at launch? It was a random Lego choice, but you know what? A couple of months down, I think this comes out in May. Did they say?
It's around there, yeah.
Give it a gap, let it settle down. Everyone's seen it. Get that figure out. I'm so intrigued to see the price of Baby Yoda on eBay just for the minifigure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be very interesting.
Indeed. George, do you want to take us home with the games announcements?
Yes, very quickly. There's a humongous Battlefront 2 update that went live last week. They've added some new characters, the IEC agent, an Ewok fighter, and they've redeveloped the Leia character who was the worst on the game. They've changed everything about her, and they confirmed next month with the next update, they're going to get Scarif and a lot of other content they've yet to announce. So again, they're just massively keeping going with that community. I love that and respect that. And there's a rumor this week that Jedi Fallen Order 2 is now in development for the PS5/new Xbox. We kind of all assumed this would take place. It's left very open-ended. With respect, I hope that it is a sequel and not a trilogy. Let him die. He needs to die. He doesn't need to survive. Loved what they did in the first one. The second one, there's a lot less to do, but you've got Vader as your villain. Very quickly, jump on. Do we have a release date for Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga? Unfortunately, not.
It's all gone very quiet.
I have a feeling this could be a launch day PS5 game. It's gone very quiet. E3's in June. I just have this vibe that PS4 launched with Lego Marvel. I could imagine it launching with PS5 launching with Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
And now I have a Switch. I'm excited for it because I can guarantee I can get it on the Switch, and that'll make me a very happy boy indeed.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to play it, but yes, I expect more news at E3.
Indeed. But I think that's about wraps it up for this evening. Guys, anything else to add?
No, just that we will be back on the weekend after we have seen the next episode of Clone Wars, and we'll be rounding up the next episode in the Bad Batch series. And then we will hopefully be back, even Phil and I should be back to finish off our Resistance videos that are coming. I do promise we will finish that out and round out our look at that series. But yeah, just thank you very much for joining us tonight. Everyone who has, for listening, for watching. Does mean the world to us. Thank you so much.
Indeed. George, anything else?
Keep staying positive with Star Wars. Don't let yourself sink to their levels. You don't have to be positive. You can have criticisms, but you do not need to go and verbally tweet an author for doing her job.
Don't give in to your hate.
Just have a bit of thought rather than go with your instinct at times. But no, and also keep washing your hands. We don't want this ridiculous virus to delay any more films.
No, we need the separatist blockade to end. Thank you very much. But all that's left to say is, of course, as per usual, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at One's the Force of Star Wars Podcast at the Force Podcast. You can find the video for this later on our YouTube and Facebook pages, and you can find the audio at your usual suppliers, being Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. The merchandise, of course, is in the link in the description below. Until next time, we've been One's the Force. May the Force be with you. Good night.